Howdy. Look at this row. Howdy. Good morning. How are you guys? I was sitting here, and then it dawned on me, you don't even have rope the first on. You need to jump up. And I had to run to the wardrobe department really quick, also known as the dining room chair, and pick up the rope. So again, what was it yesterday? I was out of breath when we opened. Oh, I had to run upstairs and get my wedding band because don't feel properly dressed without it. Well, good morning, and how are you? Welcome to today's installment, Bathrobe Moments. I'm your host, Loren Michaels Harris. It is Thursday, the 2nd of July. Here we are, making our way slowly but surely down the path of the month of the year. Wendy Meyer, I see you peeking in through the front door. Come on in, girl. Don't be shy. Good to see you and everyone else. I'll get back to you all in a moment. So, of course, we're as you can tell from the heavy breathing and all that, we are streaming live today, as always, on the following platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Roku. I have the Rose, or I'll say Roku, Android, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. And of course, we can't forget our home base out in Phoenix, Arizona. That's E360 TV Live. That bell you heard is what? Yes, absolutely. The bell of purpose. It means when our guest says something that just makes us go, oof, oh my goodness, oof, oof. Can I get an amen? You're going to hear that bell ring. It also is for you. When you put a comment or something on there, anything that makes one of us say, you know what, I'm loving that. So that's the bell of purpose. It's also a chance for everyone to be interactive, to be a part of something greater than themselves, which is spreading the good news of how to live the best lives possible. So that's that. Help me welcome to the show, as always, my sidekick, my best gal, Miss Lucy McGillicuddy Ricardo. Thanks for all those hearts. Hey, Robert, welcome. Good morning to all of you. Today's guest is no stranger to Bathrobe Moments. She's been here several times. You remember her. She placed third in our competition last year, which was about a month away, month and a half. No, I guess you could say 2 months because it was August 30th. Speak of the Next Impactor, and Misty Lane placed third in that out of hundreds of competitors. She has a new show that we're going to talk about and find out what's been going on since we last saw her. Now, I think, she was a beauty queen. We all know that part of the story. If not, you will today. And so, I don't know. Last I heard, she was downstairs, having it out with her wardrobe and hair and makeup people. But I hope she's, is that her? Is somebody fighting in there? What was going on? What was going on in there? What was you guys knockout dragging out? What, somebody messed with your mascara?
Yes, it's all about the mascara.
So
funny.
What is this hair to this? Oh.
This is when I don't have time to straighten it and I wash it and just quickly dry it and go.
Okay, so how are you, Misty Lane?
Well, I'm okay. I've been self-quarantined. Actually, I've been sent home by my work in quarantine because I had a pretty high exposure, high risk exposure to a positive COVID patient doing a lung scan on them at work. So.
Oh, wait a minute. Now, let's talk about that. Well, first of all, say hello, tell everybody who you are, where you're at, and then what kind of work you do so they'll understand how this exposure took place.
Hi, everybody. I'm Misty Lane. I am down in Southeast Texas in a little town called Port Arthur. I do nuclear medicine, which is diagnostic radiology, where I inject radioactive isotopes into people and scan their bodies for different anomalies, from cancer to child abuse to liver disease. I mean, we pretty much look at everything. Yeah.
Okay. So how did this happen? I'm just saying hi to some people. How did this happen? Did the person know that they were positive?
No, the patient did not know they were positive. It's actually, legally, I don't know how much I'm actually even allowed to say, but let's just say I have filed a grievance against an ER doctor. Some things didn't go the way they were supposed to go to protect me. I didn't want to do the scan. I argued doing the scan.
Why? Did you know the person was positive? Did you know?
No, I was told they were not.
Oh, so you were arguing for other reasons.
Well, I was arguing because, basically.
So the doctor knew?
The doctor did not know, but it was also his job to ensure that that patient was not positive before I did an aerosolized study on him. And those things were not done prior to. After I scanned him, then they did the COVID testing on him, and he was positive. So,
Well, this is why they say you guys are actually right there on the front line. And
absolutely.
I'm glad. I'm not glad this happened, but I'm glad you're able to talk about, um, exactly what that is, because we hear the thing about healthcare workers. Oh, you're heroes, and this that, and the other. And I had a special about 3 weeks ago. No, maybe a month now, and I had some COVID nurses, and they
Mhm.
were talking about the fact that that's the last thing they want to be called the hero. They go, if you do a 12-hour shift, and 8 of
Yeah.
those hours you're holding six different hands of people who are dying alone because their family can't be there. You don't go home feeling like a hero at all. But it's interesting what you say, that you're in there. You would think that at every turn, uh, people, whether it's however it is, if they could find out hours later, they could have found out hours before. It
Yes,
seems to me.
apparently it is a process that you have to go through to get a COVID test through the ER. There's a lot of different hoops that you have to jump through, and dotted I's and cross T's. And I guess I didn't realize it was that difficult. Anyway, like I said, legally, I don't want to say too much. I don't
Yeah,
know what
yeah.
I to say, but let's just say I'm not a happy camper. I was sent home. They are paying me, so I'm thankful for that. That was also another hoop to jump through,
Oh
but
well,
they
that's
are doing
great.
right. Yes, they are doing right by me. And
Mm-hmm.
so far, no symptoms, no fever. I did have a mask on. I did not have my N95 mask because, again, I thought the patient was negative. But thankfully, I did have my regular mask on. But the
So
thing people don't realize is this thing trickles downhill, because then the next patient that came into my room, which was an ICU patient, now they're exposed as well. They were
because
vomiting. They
because
didn't
they
have a
were
mask
on the same table and all that stuff.
in the same room, and because they were vomiting for 2 hours in my room, they didn't have their mask on. So now it's just a down going through the hallway. I mean, there's all these things. Of course, we try to take precautions. We put masks on the patients. We try to mask everyone around should have their mask on, in that environment, period, because we don't know what we're up against. We can't see it.
Well, here's what I'd love to segue into. So, okay, and this is great because here you are in there on the front lines, but the front lines are everywhere. The front lines are the grocery store. The front lines are wherever you are, and there are other people, because it only takes one. It's like people that don't protect themselves and end up pregnant. Well, I only did it once. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It only takes once. So let me ask you, Misty, all the precautions and things that you've taken, and now here what's it feel like to know you've been exposed? It's different than when we're standing beside somebody and they cough in the grocery store or whatever, because now so what do you are you live how are you navigating through it? Are you nervous, or you're trusting in your higher power? How are you dealing with it?
Well, all of that comes into play. Of course, I trust in my higher power. The doctors at my organization have assured me that the chances, even though it was a high exposure rate, the chances of me contracting it were low because I did have on a mask.
Good.
Um, and I'm healthy. I'm relatively young. I'm 52. I'm healthy. So if I do contract it, I feel like my body would be able to fight it. And in a way, I'm almost wishful that I did contract it, because I'm so fearful of the vaccine that is to come, and the possibility of it being mandatory for me to continue in my career. And I'm 100% against anything that doesn't have enough time under its belt for a longitudinal study to be done before it goes into my body. So, you
Oh,
know, I kind of had that wish that maybe this was it for me, and I could have the antibodies and not have to be vaccinated. So, it just is a day at a time. I'm at the end of the quarantine now. I'm going to be returning to work on Monday, but Texas, where I am, is a very hot spot right now.
it
Um,
is.
the governor just announced Bolivar Peninsula, which is a huge place for the 4th of July activities. They're closing it. I mean, I don't even know, other than when the hurricane has blown through, that they've ever closed the ferries and closed down the peninsula. I mean, it's, I don't want to get too political on here, Loren, but it's really my own sister. We go at it because there's so many people out there that don't take this seriously. I'm not saying for
That's what
whatever.
I wanted to ask next.
Yeah, my belief is of course, I believe this is an engineered virus. Of course, I believe there are motives behind it. Of course, I believe that it was, my belief system is that it was intentionally dispersed. Now, where it was supposed to go, I don't know. But what I do know is it's here now and people are dying. And people that don't think they're dying, they think the hospitals are empty. I invite you to come to go to work with me. Spend a day with me at work.
There you go. Now, see, and this is perfect. This is perfect. And we're going to get through this and get into the good, juicy stuff that's going on, the other stuff in your life, Sam. I'm just kidding. But I want to, but here's the deal. You're right. A lot of people, especially now that we're seeing that, well, we were seeing a lot of reopenings across the board, but now some of those people are backtracking. And there are those of us, and you guys have heard me say right here on the show, and are like, oh, you can go to the nail salon if you want to. You can go over to the health club if you want to. But as far as me and mine, we're keeping it locked down.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's too, how do you know a decision is the right decision unless you're the one who makes it? And even then, you're not sure sometimes. So, how do you feel? Did you feel when they were opening? Because didn't Texas relax some of the restraints early?
They did, and we started slow at 25%, 50%. The problem with that is you have to give that virus time to catch up and to show in the testing the results before you move to the next stage. And I think that we moved through those stages too quickly, and now Texas is seeing the repercussion from it. My daughter Amber just passed her boards to do anesthesia, and she's not even at work yet. I mean, they're closing surgeries back down. I mean, things are really escalating. Her wife Julie is an ER nurse, and they are completely full. She works at the medical center. Hey, I'm proud of my daughter.
I know. I was going to say when she gets on her kids, there I had this one ready to go. So there you go. And it's a good thing, though. I'm so proud of Amber.
Yeah,
and all of them, all your kids.
Starting a brand new career, and the fear she has going in, even though she's in surgery, she wears protective devices anyway. But I mean, and I even asked her if they require you to get this vaccine, what are you going to do? You're just brand new, worked all these years towards this career. What are you going to do, Amber?
Well, let's talk about this. You're the first person I've heard that has brought up some cautionary elements of this vaccine or the potential vaccine. Talk about that if you could, because you're in the business. So what should we all know, and what should we all consider as laymen who aren't inside the hospitals, aren't inside the medical field, and we're all like, hey, it was vaccine. What do we need to know to make an informed decision? What part are we not hearing?
Well, number one, my belief system is for my body to, for me to have taken a vaccine, I want a longitudinal study, 10 to 20 years. You need data collected. You need to see the end result, because it may not affect you today or even 2 years from now, but the effects 7 years from now could be deadly. We don't know. And this is just too new. I think it's just too new. We don't know what's in it. I have confidence in the world that they are trying to come up with the answer to it. But I also have, like most of us do, in the back of my mind, what's really going on here? Who's really behind this? What are they really putting in us? I've read some studies about some things that are going on where they put the transdermal patch instead of a shot. And that patch they're putting in has tiny little micro needles that's actually implanting a 9-digit code. Well, I don't know about you, but in my belief system and religion is the mark of the beast is something we do not accept. And to me, it sounds like the mark of the beast to me.
I heard something like that on one of Tim Ray's shows. Yep. Awaken Atlanta. Now because Tim, but
he's
Tim. But let's wrap up this thing about COVID, because I want to get into what's going on in your world, the world of happiness. But I will say this. There are people that I know that, we have a friend in common that, I see this person on Facebook showing off new guns and this, that, and the other. And I got to say, everybody's got their own right to think and process and approach this from their own safety center. But I don't know. You know what I think, Misty? You know what I think this boils down to is reaching for those things that are at the nucleus of your belief system. that, if you really believe in your higher power and you trust in them, then you're going to hear that voice. You're going to hear the voice of truth. You're going to hear the voice of reason. You're going to, this is where we really have to rely on the I words: instinct, intuition, insight, because those are the things that are within us, where what is greater than us is speaking directly to us without all that chaos and stuff going on. So it's really a test for people to listen to what they know to be true. Now, a lot of people can't have an issue with that, because in order to hear that and be in a quiet place, you got to be able to be comfortable spending time with yourself. Now, how's that experience been for you? I know you live in a new place. Not so long before COVID showed up, you relocated, and new job, and your kids were living in different places. So how's that been, especially like this last 14 days or so, or close to 14, where you had to stay away from everybody?
It's been different. I thought I would get a whole lot done, but you know, I don't know. I did get caught up on a lot of work, but at the same time, I miss that social interaction. I'm a very social person, so it's hard for me to stay isolated.
Yes.
It's hard for me not to see my grandbaby. It's hard for me, not to interact with my parents. I go check on them every week in Lake Charles. It's hard to not be able to do that. But at the same time, I'm going to do what I need to do to keep everyone safe around me, because I feel like it's also my obligation to make sure I'm not spreading it. So
Right.
I'm being a good girl, doing what I'm supposed to. And back to what you were just saying, Loren, too, is I think that we should all just follow like I always tell my daughter Loren with Eliana, is you follow your gut. If it doesn't feel right, then
Right.
take a pause, research. Don't just trust one trusted site. Get your information across several different sites and make your own educated and informed opinion on what you're doing to move forward.
I agree. That's a great piece of info there. So if you just come in since the top of the hour, welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. I'm your host, Loren Michaels Harrison. Today's guest is none other than Misty Lane. Now, we've been talking about all the COVID stuff and I like to catch up with people that I haven't seen in a while or talked to about how it's working for them. But now let's talk about all these new things that are going on in your life since you realized. New show. What else? Tell us. Take us from the rooter to the tutor.
Oh, it's exciting. I'm finally moving forward. Been a procrastinator, as you know, as my coach for all of that time, is that I have a perfectionism issue. So I wait, wanting everything to be just right, and nothing was moving forward. So finally, I just took the plunge and jumped in and started my show I had talked about for so long. I'm so glad I did. I'm loving it. The satisfaction that comes from watching someone cross that bridge through transparency, and you can almost see the weight coming off of their shoulders as they share things, and teaching them how they can use that and really make an investment in someone else to help lift them up is just extremely rewarding. And I'm just so happy and honored and proud, and just all of it.
So what's the name of the show? When does it air? Where can people go to find it?
The name of the show is Dare to Share with Misty Lane. It streams off of E360 TV, same as yours with our friend Aaron.
Yes.
Yes, on Roku, Amazon Fire, all the Instagram TV, Apple TV. You can go to my Facebook page, Misty Lane page, or even Misty Lane. There's two. We have a business page, a regular page.
Okay.
And it streams live on Tuesdays. Well, it's been on Thursdays at 6, but this coming week we are moving to 2 nights a week and expanding to Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Central Time. Thank you.
So where do you find your guests, and who are these people? Talk about a couple of them that stand out to you since you started.
Well, some of my guests I've known just throughout my speaking and the impactor competition and different things that have gotten me out into the loop. But I just put out a call and say, if you want to be a guest, if you have something, a burning desire, you want to dare to share something, just to type the word guest in the subject line and send it to mistylane at mistylane.com. And I was just flooded with emails, and I have a lineup of about 40 something people now waiting to get in. So I never expected. And that makes me so happy, because I do believe in transparency. I believe it's necessary, and to see that people are starting to realize the benefit and how it can be a game changer in the world is
right. So I want to ask you something about transparency and about this is a great one now. Nobody take offense, but I want to know how you look at it and what you do when you are faced with what I'm about to describe. Now, Dare to Share is an open forum for people to be transparent because that's one of your big your champion for transparency. It's all over your brand. But what about those people? Because I know I've talked to a couple people, not so much trying to get on the show, but like back with Impactor, they were calling me like, should I apply? Should I upload a video? And there's just a couple of them that stand out. But I had never considered that some people just want to cry, just want to complain, just want. What's the difference between being transparent, in your opinion, and just wanting to make the world feel sorry for you or cry along with you? Because and there are people like that. So.
Yeah.
What do you do when you face that? Do they make a good guess, or is that somebody you pull off to the side and say, "Well, hey, maybe we need to just maybe I need to mentor you or coach with you or something like that." How do you deal with that, or have you dealt with it
I have dealt with it a little bit. What I call that is emotional vomit.
yet?
And I was very guilty of that.
That was a good one.
The very first time I met my first coach, Sam, which was a gift someone gifted to me, I was so excited to finally start telling my story. It was just like, da 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 and da 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 and da da da. And he's like, whoa, I feel like you just vomited all over me, all your stuff. He's like, calm down, slow it down. So I do a call when I line someone up as a guest. I get on a 15 to 20-minute call a day or two before the show and let them have a chance to kind of get that out of them and
Right.
see where, okay, do you just need to vent? Or are you serious about using what you've been through to really help someone? And if you are, then we need to tailor this in a way which Loren, you taught me this, which shows value, which you can give value and not just vomit all over people, but to use your mess as your message.
That's a good point. Good point. And thank you for reminding me of that. We all need that. So the show. Talk about one of the guests. Which one so far? You've been on the air how long? A couple months now, right?
I'm on my 10th episode.
Your 10th episode. So out of those 10 episodes, tell us about that guest that show that just like made you go, boy, am I glad I'm doing what I'm doing, and it finally is happening because the world needed to hear this.
Well, of course, I feel all my guests are equally as important. Their messages have all been very strong. Kristen Miracle stands out, and I think I introduced you to her. She's an upcoming guest for you as well. But she reached out to me. Actually, she learned of me through the Next Impactor competition, started following me, and reached out to me a year ago. We had a phone call, and she's like, "You're so brave. How do you talk about the things you've done? There are things I could just never say to anyone." So when the show started up, she sent me a message right away, and she and I talked, and she's like, I'm ready to talk about the things in my past. And she has been, her life was horrific. Her dad, her own father, started raping her at age 3 years old.
Oh.
And up until teenage years, and then mom blamed her for it. How do you blame a child?
That happens a lot. That happens a lot.
Because
the spouse doesn't want to admit it, right?
Right. There's lots of reasons that mom doesn't want to leave because that's their support system, right? That's how they feed them, and so she came on the show. It was her very first time ever to share, and I was so proud of her. And she is just doing amazing things now. She's blossoming. She said, Misty, I already feel the weight off my shoulders. It felt so good to share, and that's the difference. You don't just spew vomit and talk about the things that are bad in your past. You go on and you talk about, this happened to me, and it's okay if it's happened to you to feel this way, because we have anger, we have resentments, we have issues we need to deal with from things. You don't just, like I did, stuff it down with little Debbie cakes or crack cocaine. You have to at some point deal with those issues. And so this platform is wonderful for allowing people to do that. And Kristen was an amazing guest, great response. And another show, of course, here we go with my shameless plug, but I had all 3 of my kids on at the same time.
I saw that.
In the same room. Episode. I'm so upset because my microphone plug had come undone and it had defaulted to my computer microphone, so the sound wasn't great. But that was a chance. I learned things, Loren, about my own children that I never even knew they thought or went through things like Austin when he thought my parents lied to him and told him that his dad had left him in a park because he didn't want him. I mean,
Hi,
that was a
honey.
lie. That was a total lie. And I never even knew my son thought that. I mean, things came up, and
Yeah.
it was tough, but I think it's been my highest viewed show so far. I'm really proud of that. It had like 1,300 views. For me, that's a lot. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud of it. And I just encourage anyone to step up and do it. That's what my whole brand is. Hashtag be that one. Step up and share your truth so we can educate each other to judge less and mentor more.
Well, a lot of people, really don't understand the value that is found within becoming vulnerable. And transparency is really, in my opinion, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. It's a difficult thing because we're also afraid of being judged,
That's it.
But when we get it out there, it helps. I call it the great equalizer
Mm-hmm.
because if somebody doesn't like you, then you should know that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If somebody is going to judge you and hold something in your past against you, then you should know that. Because it's not always those people that are so blatant with it. Sometimes it's those people that are smiling in your face and
Mm-hmm.
then working against you in another realm. So I applaud you for that, and I applaud you, kid. I saw your kids. I saw that episode, and it was great. So what about people that feel maybe considering? And I'm going to throw this back up on the screen because this is where you send your request to be a guest. You might have to wait in line for a minute to be on the Misty Lane show, but if you are serious about speaking your truth, then get in line anyway. So Misty, what is it? What do you tell people that are sitting there stuck, saying, "Okay, I'm gonna send her." Brian says, "Hi, Misty, sweetie pie."
Hi, I love you.
Oh my God, hold on, honey. What? I'm just.
Shut
I'm kidding. You two
you.
have the weirdest love,
I love
buddy,
him.
girlfriend, boyfriend.
We just click, man.
You
We just
do.
click.
I love it. I
Don't
just
hate.
tease you. I'm
Don't hate.
not. Sometimes I wonder. I'm like, does he love her more than me? Laughing. So, but when a person is sitting there fighting the opportunity, because that's what it is. When you have a chance to speak your truth, share your truth, and clear the pathway for new and exciting things, you have to drop something. If your hands are full of something, you got to put something down in order to pick something new up. And that's what I feel the beauty of the transparency mindset is really all about. So, what would you say to that person that is on the fence about, can I actually do this? And have you ever had somebody back out at the last minute because they thought they could do it and all of a sudden they're afraid to do it?
I haven't had that yet. I can tell you when the very beginning of the episode with Kristen, she backed away a little bit, got really, really shy. I could see it coming, and I
Mm-hmm.
immediately pulled her out of it. And I reminded her what we were doing and why we were doing it. Um, I learned very early, and again, I have to give you all the credit, Loren, as my coach. You really brought me a long way through this
Oh.
journey. Is You helped me realize that it's not about me. It's my
Mm-hmm.
story. And I used to wonder, how can it not be about me? It's my life, it's my story, it's everything I went through. It's not about us. We're through it. We're done with it. We've survived. We're the winners. So now we're an authority on it. So now we have to use it to help someone else. And when it's not about us anymore, the shame goes away. It just goes away because we don't care. And as far as people judging me, I always say, judge me, go ahead, but you're going to do it from the corner because the person behind you might need to hear me. So get the hell out of the way and judge me
Mm.
there
I
because
like that.
I don't care anymore. And like Jason taught me as well as a mentor, Jason Cisneros taught me, you're going to have haters. And I never forget the first hater I ever had. I was on the fence. Was I excited or was I mad? I couldn't decide. I called Jason. I'm like, I got a hater. I got a hater. Of course, he got on there and took care of the hater and, had his 2 cents in and all this and had my back. But it was like, are you excited for a hater or are you mad at them? But I was almost excited because he teaches us it means you're doing something right when you have a hater.
That's true. That's true. So, how do you feel today? I know you started keynoting. We saw you do your thing and do a standing ovation in Atlanta. And then, as soon as you get started, here comes COVID, changing the way we do everything. So, what does the new normal look like for Missy Lane and for your brand? How are you adapting? And how's that process been so far?
Well, I was supposed to speak in Perth. I was going to Canada. I mean, I was going to become an international speaker. I was very excited for it. Of course, things happen. I've done a couple of summits. I got along with Vicky. We did some stuff through Australia. We did a thing together. I'm collaborating with her more and more. If I didn't have a full-time career in nuclear medicine, I think I would have definitely taken advantage of this and gone to online courses, online workshops, more online things, because I feel like if you have a message, it doesn't matter if it comes through a smoke screen. Um,
Right.
you need to find a way to get it out there. If you need to write it in the sand and use a drone to, video, whatever it is,
Do it.
get it out there. But because I do have a full-time career, I've had to go a little bit more slow, and I've been a little bit more patient with things opening up. I've enjoyed the stage. To me, I like that atmosphere. I like being in the same room with people. I like to give people a hug when people walk up to me and I've touched them in some way. There's no replacing that. There's never going to be that interaction for me that can be replaced through a Zoom or a StreamYard
Right.
or anything. The
Right.
message might be there, but that personal interaction afterwards, that comfort, that it's okay to feel what you're feeling, the arms around you from someone that's been there, that
Right.
understands. You can't replace
You
that.
can't replace that. I agree. Now, when we come back, we're going to take a short break. We're going to talk about the book, the current book, and if there's another one on the horizon. We're speaking with Misty Lane. When we come back, we're going to find out about her book, What Goes Up. Don't you go away. All right, good morning and welcome back to Bathrobe Moments, Thursday edition. And our guest today is Misty Lane. I want to say hats off to the two new sponsors for July for Bathrobe Moments. That's the Emperor's Medicine and also Nikki's Naperville. Welcome to the family. So we were going to talk about, let's get into the book. You wrote this book called What Goes Up. We see it behind you on the shelf and now in your hand. Talk about the book, how you came to writing it, and what are your hopes for people that pick it up and actually read it? Because a lot of people actually read your book. A lot of people get books and then they um don't even crack them. uh, unlike Brian, who reads about 5 books a week. But tell us about this book and why was it? Why do you feel it was such an important part of your launching? And how did it help you clear the way to do all these other things that you're doing? Because I really believe that that was the courage. That was the courage maker. You getting that book out.
It was, and I was actually interviewed last night from Farouk, a man in India, and he asked me, out of all the things you've done, what's your, what he feels your biggest accomplishment? And I said, being an author, I do feel is my biggest accomplishment because of the amount of courage it took to learn that it wasn't about me, like I said, and to use that um, powerful, because we're so negative on ourselves. We can just put all the power and attention in being negative and beating ourselves up for everything we've ever done. But to
Mm-hmm.
learn to use that energy and shift it to the good for someone else was just an amazing breakthrough for me. The book, Lauren, was written while I was in prison. I was in jail awaiting a 40-year prison sentence. Thought my life was over and I just needed an outlet. I needed that ventilation. So I started using writing. I tell people it's the therapy that saved my life, which is
Mm-hmm.
why my upcoming women's retreats are centered. Right to Ignite are centered around using writing as therapy because it is so valuable. It's so important. It's a wonderful outlet. It's so wonderful. I love
My
it.
favorite banner. I
I
love
learned
it.
from the best,
And
baby.
this one. And this one. Girl. So okay. No, but go ahead. So and talk about that. Um um the book, now you have the book and now you've been talking to women. Do you feel that have you from the you know what is the word I'm looking for? The response from people who have read your book or people that pick it up. Do you feel that your book is more for women than men or is it for everybody?
It's actually for everyone. I've had way more men be responsive than I ever thought I would. I did think that my market was definitely for women because of the domestic abuse aspect, which is, it can go either way, but it is mostly prevalent with a man being the abuser. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought for sure that would be the component, but there are a lot of people that suffer from addictions that gravitate to the book. And I'm just thankful for it. I mean, you know, when we go through hell, it's not like a one way, you're not just in one lane. There's
Right.
many things we go through to get there. And, it covers a lot of different areas that a lot of people can relate to.
Why do you think it's easier for women to spew it all out and just admit things and come clean, if you will, talk about difficult experiences? Why? I know we have machismo and ego and all that for guys, but why is it harder? Is it the old? Do you think it's the old adage that big boys don't cry?
I do. And that the men are supposed to be strong and tough and hard and, like just they're not supposed to let things, or our society teaches us that they're not supposed to let normal everyday things affect them. They're just supposed to carry on and be brawn and tough. And
Well, I believe being vulnerable and putting yourself out there like that is one of the greatest shows of strength
I do too.
for
I
anybody. And everybody listen to that right there, because that's the truth. I say all the time, what's the Goldcast video is that night that I was on a stage telling my story for the very first time, and I had a tether on my leg from
Mhm.
being falsely accused, where somebody was trying to take me out of life completely.
Yeah.
Like similar to what you were sitting there looking at, I was in 45 years based on a lie.
Yeah.
But that thing on my leg, and being up there, it was the hardest thing. I almost ran 3 times that night off that stage. If I would have, I most likely wouldn't be doing what I do today. And
Nope.
so I want people to understand how important that is. Your true strength comes in those places that you can't see how it could ever be anything good.
Hmm.
That's how it comes dressed. So, Misty, so you wrote the book. Um, what about this? When you were inside there writing and you needed to talk about certain people, this is another thing that people love. And that's like, I know with you and your mother, for one thing, there was a difficult situation. You had to get through it. You didn't go around it. You didn't dig under it. You didn't crawl over it. You went straight through it. And what about people that are thinking about or are in the midst of writing their story or telling their story, even telling it? And in order to have that continuity, to have that realness, that authenticity, you have to refer to people that are still in your life and are alive. It's one thing if somebody's dead or you change the names to protect the innocent or whatever. But what about the guilty? Do you change the name to protect the guilty? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think too you have to really discover why you're doing the book, why you're writing or even telling your story. If you're trying to hurt someone, if you're trying to get revenge on someone, that's a whole nother motive, Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference is when you truly have when you're writing or you're trying to be transparent from an authentic place to truly help someone, then there's ways to soften and go about things. There were things in my life that I was told I was forbidden to talk about by my
By
family,
whom?
because they didn't want those family secrets out there.
Mm,
And it's a tough thing to go through because you have to decide, are you going to be true to you and what you believe? Are you going to stay true and respect your parents and what they ask you to do? It's a hard, tough, thin line to do. And I had to weigh it out. And there's some things that are not in my book. And
mm,
I chose not to put them in there just because sometimes the things that we have to say don't just impact us, they impact the people around us. And we have to be cautious. Again, I talk about your intent. If you're out
mm.
just to hurt someone, bulldoze through it, do what you got to do. But I
Right,
don't think that's an authentic book. I don't think that's really going to help anyone.
right,
It's what are you trying to say, and can you say it without saying it? If that makes sense.
right. Like inference, and there are
Right.
ways. And I believe that. And I believe what is greater than us will help us when our intent is purposeful. So, uh, are you planning another book? How
Yeah.
how does that, how's that? Tell us about that.
Well, I've been talking about it for a while. I've actually started on it now. I'm going to name it Jail Tales, and it's going to be sort of a comical type, just a remembrance and documentation of the things that go on inside of a jail because TV shows just can't do it justice. I mean, there are things that happen inside of a jail that it will blow your mind. I mean, good and bad. I've seen some horrific, awful things happen, and the guards be the one that hand the girls the gloves to do those things.
Mhm.
And then I've done some hilarious things. As one of the things I talk about is when I was going to court one day. You don't have makeup, you don't have hairspray, Texas beauty queen in jail. Hello, I'm gonna come up with something. With my chemistry degree, I'm using black ink and toothpaste to make me some mascara to use a toothbrush to put it on with, and it's fine till you cry and it burns like hell, right? But
Mhm.
I had taken some Jolly Ranchers and melted them down and used it to scrunch my hair and act as hairspray to go to court. Came back,
Wow.
yeah, I came back and it works great until
Until you fall asleep in a bunch of ants.
no. Well, with me, what happened is I came back, I went out into the yard to do my laps because if you walk, there's nothing else to do in jail. And I got attacked by honeybees.
See,
I went flying in that and jumped in that shower with my clothes on. It was horrible. And they're just little things like that. I mean,
that
I've
is
seen
funny.
people snort coffee, grind coffee up and snort it. I've seen people
I've seen that.
smoke lettuce out of Bible paper. I mean, the things that happen, and it's comical to me, the things that we do, and I think the biggest thing, Lauren, that blows my mind is you have someone that goes into a facility that doesn't allow smoking. And of course, you can always get stuff that, you can get things in there.
Of
But
course.
for the most part, a person, I want to say patient, I'm in that mode. A person will go in 2-3 years and not smoke cigarettes. And the first thing they freaking want to do when they walk out the door is light a damn cigarette. I'm
Right.
thinking, you just beat an addiction that's hard as hell to beat. Why are you wanting to go right back to it? I just never been a smoker other than crack. So I've never really understood that. So
Well,
I don't,
excuse me. I think that is because I used to ask that question too. But I think that is because a person, it's the same reason people start the process of going back, recidivism, as soon as they get out. They talk about all these pipe dreams, but the truth will always present itself. If a person keeps something alive, you
Mhm.
know, they're not smoking because they don't want to. They're not smoking because they don't have access to. So in their mind, they're still blowing the breath of life into those embers to keep the flame going. And the minute they are able to uh, do what they have been, they keep that picture in picture. It's like the world is the picture on the screen, but they got that little one down in the corner that keeps playing all those things that they tell us they're not going to do. But the truth is, they're still keeping it they're still paying that cable bill to watch that show. Let's put it that way.
It's funny you say that because I call that the safety net. In a moment of transparency here, I'll share this.
Mhm.
I was married to a police officer at one point in my addiction. He was older than me, and he would hunt me down. I would be missing for days at a time. I was always being hunted by my parents. Somebody, that loved and cared about me, thank God they did, always went looking for me. They would be driving in all the neighborhoods night and day looking for me. And I remember one time in rehab sitting there thinking, okay, you know, he's older than me. He's going to die before me, probably. And then I can smoke crack and not be hunted. I mean, hello, I'm sitting in rehab. I wanted to be better, but it's like I had that safety net because my inside wasn't ready to let go of that. That drug to me was my escape. And to say goodbye to that, they even have us write in rehab, our own obituaries or write love letters breaking up with our addictions. I mean, it's that mind, and I'm sure Brian would be an excellent person to talk more about that, but the
Mhm.
tricks we play on ourselves for that safety net to tell us, okay, I'm not going to do crack now for the next 5 or 10 years, but he's going to die eventually. And then I can
Mhm.
go back to doing crack and not worry about being hunted.
Mhm. Do you
Crazy.
know? I want to ask you something because I had that same addiction. 14 years it took from my life, but also 14 years that I wouldn't have the life I have if it wasn't. So what really happened? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I want you to speak to this if you could. Um, do you ever find? I mean, when I see like or talking to somebody or interviewing somebody, and they say, "Oh yeah, my cousin or my brother, unfortunately, is out there in the life, addicted to crack and this and the other," and I go, people still do it. Somehow I thought, because I'm so far removed from that mindset, it doesn't even occur to me that people are still out there doing it. It never crosses my mind. And I wondered how that is for you. Are you shocked when you hear that people are doing that? And then when you say, well, wait a minute, that used to be me. It's so far from who we were, as opposed to who we are today. It's just incredible. It's to me, it's just incredible that I don't believe people still do it. I'm shocked every time I hear it. I thought it ended when it ended with me.
No, I know that it's still there. What's funny is that I can see it. I see it all around me. It's before I was in that world, I never noticed the little drug buy that was happening at the gas station next to me. I never
So you
noticed.
see that stuff now?
I see it everywhere, everywhere. I
Wow.
can point it out instantly. I'll be with someone in the car. I'm like, oh, yeah, they just picked up somebody. She's a hoe. They're like, what? I'm like, oh yeah, she's tricking. Or, oh yeah, that was a drug deal right there. And they're like, no, they wasn't. They was just talking, leaning in, talking to him. I'm like, that was a drug deal going down. And I see it everywhere. But what gets me is today I would be scared to death to smoke crack cocaine today because of all the things they're lacing the drugs with today. I
Yeah.
mean, fentanyl, all the things across the board, that's killing people. I mean, left and right. Well, I remember when bath salts made their big debut with bath salts and how bat crazy people got with that stuff. I mean, I would be too scared to not be in control of myself right now.
Mhm. Mhm. So addiction. I used to say when I was in there and couldn't get out, and I would try to explain it to somebody that, because I had friends. I was like Carlton from the Fresh Prince. Nobody believed it. When I tried to tell, I was actually in the back seat of my neighbor's car in Phoenix. Um, on my way, they were driving me to a rehab, and they didn't know where they were taking me until we were halfway there. And because I know how they were, and it was like a 45-minute drive, and I waited until we were halfway there, thinking we're past the point of no return, so they will take me. And I told them where we were headed, and they pulled over and they looked back, and they were like, "Loren, no, it can't be that bad. You're exaggerating it." And then they started talking me out, and I was like, "Really?" They said, "Listen, if it was that bad, we would know." They had no idea about the different personas that showed up in order to cover my tracks. And
Yes.
we turned around, and that added another 2.5, 3 years to my addiction because of that. And so I say that to say this: when people try that have never been in that position, any addiction. I mean, there's gambling, there's sex, there's porn, there's food, there's you name it. But I believe outside of true love, that whatever addiction a person is dealing with is the strongest force on the planet for them at the time. And so I wondered how you felt about that because people always think, oh, what a weak person you must have been. No, has nothing to do with that. And I want whoever's out there battling an addiction right now to know that it doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean that you're nothing. It doesn't mean any of those things. So what would you say to that person who
Well,
feels like that?
I was married to my first husband was an alcoholic, and this was years before my drug addiction ever started. At age 32 is when I started with my cocaine affair.
See,
Um,
same for
and
me, 32.
and I used to wow, and I used to think I would get so pissed because he would get beer and I would get wine coolers for a holiday or a grill out or whatever, cookout. And I would get so pissed because 3 weeks later I'd go to get my wine cooler and be gone because he drank his and mine and everybody else's too. And I'd be like, just say no. How hard is it? Just don't drink the damn beer. Leave it there till next weekend. I didn't understand because I hadn't been there. So,
Right,
I think that any addict has to look, and I always say it's not to be shameful because it's not having come through the addiction. I think it's what we do with it on the other side when we're through it that
yeah,
makes the person that we are. Because you've got to tell yourself, you know, I was a master manipulator. There is nothing I wouldn't do to get that next hit of crack cocaine.
right.
Nothing, nothing, Loren, that I would not do to get that next hit.
That's a
So if
broad
I can
statement.
be that passionate about it, why can't I be that passionate about taking care of myself? Or why can't I
Mhm.
be that passionate about letting go of that shame and guilt and speaking in truth and transparency to help someone else. And it's a process. We have to go through it. There's different stages. I believe there's different stages of it. And we have to be ready. And I think the first step to getting
Mhm.
ready is when we can look in the mirror and be honest with ourselves and forgive ourselves. I think
That's
that's
right. You
step.
know, I remember the time when God said to me, because I was crying out, and I was like maybe a year into my sobriety, and I was crying out, why? Because I thought that everybody should trust me instantly again, because it's a whole year. Why are
Oh,
you still throwing that shit at me? And
yeah.
I remember, God said to me, He goes, Loren, chill out, give them time. Don't look how much energy you spent into killing yourself. All you need to concentrate right now on is spending that much energy healing yourself. And don't worry about what other people think. You didn't care what they thought when you were running out there all through the yards and empty houses and abandoned cars and
Yeah.
all that other stuff. You didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
So, why all of a sudden now does other people's opinions matter so much? Don't worry about that. Just pour the energy that you have been pouring into killing yourself, into healing yourself, and watch what happens. And thank goodness I did. I listened. So I want to ask you this: what do you feel about when people say they stand and go, I'm an addict, but I have 18 years of sobriety? I mean, they still claim that they're that person. I don't buy into that personally. I don't buy into that. I say the former version of me was this, that, and the other. But today, because I have a zero I'm not putting that I'm not wearing my story as a scarlet letter.
Mhm.
And how do you feel about that? Do you think it's a positive or a negative for a person to still refer to themselves as the former self?
Well, I think it depends. And I actually talk about this a little bit in my book because they'll teach you in rehab that addiction is predestined and it's genetic. I don't believe that at all. I think it's a vulnerability state in our life where we just give
It's a
into it.
choice.
It's a choice. It's exactly a choice. And so AA is a wonderful organization. It works for many, many, many people. But
Hmm.
just like you have carrot cake and you have sugar-free carrot cake, they're both still carrot cake, but some people choose and like a different route.
Right.
I I am the person. AA didn't work for me. Sitting in those rooms, constantly rehashing the stories, it hyped me up. Knowing that I could probably walk out the door and go right back to it, I had to remove myself from it. For me, that's what worked for me. And it's not to forget where I had been because I never want to forget it, but it's to be positive about where I am now and where I want to be. And by calling myself an addict, I feel I kept myself in it. So
Right.
I don't look at myself. I'm addicted to food. I have other addictions in my life, but as far as
Girl.
crack cocaine, I'm 13 years out and I don't feel that, I need to say I'm an addict today. I don't feel that way. You might not agree with me, but there's different things for different folks.
Right.
I was very surprised in that interview with my kids. Another thing I learned is that when Loren spoke out about how 13 years out now, she still worries about me going back. And I had no idea that
Hmm.
my kids even thought that of me anymore. She's like,
Wow.
there's still fear that because they saw how I could be clean for a year or two and be driving down the highway and just instantly had a thought, took the exit and didn't come home for 4 days out of nowhere. So they lived it, they know it. But as far as saying I'm an addict, I'm always going to be an addict, I don't buy that. I
You right. And
positive.
you know what you were just talking about, what it reminded me of? I remember the first 4 or 5 years, even if I drove past the intersection where I would turn in one direction or the other to go to the dope man's house, I would physically either have to go, feel like I had to go to use the restroom immediately, or I would feel like I was going to throw up. You know what I mean? Just instant, a physical trigger
It is.
just from the process of the chase. It's just amazing. That's why I would always say, outside of true love, I believe that addiction, while I was in it, it was the most powerful force on this planet because
Yes.
it was trying to destroy me, take me out of the game. I remember one day I asked God, "What's it going to take for this thing to let go of me?" And it said, "It isn't ever going to voluntarily let go of you until your cold body is on the pavement. You have to push it away. You have to post the eviction notice. You have to say, get the hell out of here
That's right.
now and mean it." And it wasn't until that happened that happened.
Yeah, and
Bottom line.
I want to make sure that I didn't mislead anyone when I said that I don't feel that I have to say I'm an addict. Now, do I know that I will always have to fight? Absolutely, 100%. Like you talk about triggers. For me, watching someone blow smoke from either an e-cigarette, cigarette, whatever the smoke comes from, if I see a
Mm,
cloud of white pillowy smoke, that instantly brings me back to crack. If I see
mm,
a long dark road that there's no traffic, there's no houses, that's where I would get high. I would drive constantly because I was always on the move. I was always being hunted by my loved
sure,
one. So
sure.
those long dark roads will give me the chance to take my hit. So those things are triggers to me. I don't ever want to forget the power that drug had over me, ever.
Hmm.
But I'm not going to go around every day saying I'm an addict, I'm an addict, I'm an addict.
Exactly.
I believe what you speak is what you are.
There you go. Listen, final thought, Jerry Springer moment. We're out of time, unfortunately, but it's great. I want to thank you for coming today and reconnecting with all of us here on Bathrobe Moments. So, if you had to leave everybody with one thing that you would hope they would never forget, we put the rest of the world's mouths on mute right now, and everybody in the world can only hear Misty Lane. What is it you would want them to take from this?
Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Give yourself a break. Forgive yourself for what you've done. And instead of focusing on you, take that energy and help someone. There's always someone that's just a little bit beneath you as far as in their journey. Reach
Mhm.
your hand out and lift them up to at least to where you are because you know how to get to where you are.
There you go. Everybody can do something to change someone else's life. All you have to do is be willing to contribute. Misty, thank you. A pleasure as always. We'll get you back here again. And I'm still waiting on the invitation to come on your show. But anyway, that's another thing. I'll just play. Anytime. Listen, my best to you. Tell your family, tell your kids I love them all and I miss them. And we'll get you back here soon. Have a safe and prosperous holiday. Thank you again.
Thank you, Lauren. Love
Okay,
you.
have a great one. Love you guys too. I love you too. You guys see you tomorrow morning, God willing, 8 a.m. Central for another episode of You Got It, Bathroom Moments.